The only man-made object on Earth the astronauts could see from outer space was the Great Wall of China. Although it is one of the most astounding accomplishments of man, it failed to keep out wave after wave of barbarian invaders. Startling new archaeological discoveries in China may shed light on why it was built and on the character of the emperor who completed it. The Great Wall of China. This huge stone serpent winds across nearly 2,000 miles of rugged mountains in the People's Republic of China. It is the longest structure in the world. The vast land of China has always held mystery for us. Her customs, her language, and her way of life have differed vastly from the rest of the world. Her very remoteness has lent an air of mystery. We have admired her ancient culture and her appreciation of beauty. In Search Of is the first major film unit allowed into the People's Republic of China, seeking answers to some of her secrets. An ancient ruler who could be the key to some of the puzzles is Emperor Shi Chuan-di. He became China's emperor in 221 BC. In Chinese, last names come first. The word China comes from the family name Shi, so the land of Shi became China. Even before Shi, however, China had rulers who lived behind this land of walls. Each one built sections of the Great Wall in hope it would keep out the barbarians. The great Tartar leader, Genghis Khan, a brilliant military strategist, had little trouble crossing the Great Wall. Nomad scouts from the Khan's Gobi Desert hordes reported that the Chinese government was weak. There were traitors to open the gates, and the Mongol hordes swept through to conquer China. The irony was that after 2 generations, the new conquerors were totally absorbed by the Chinese. Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis and the most familiar name to us through the tales of Marco Polo, lived in the height of luxury and ruled over the most splendidly opulent court in Chinese history. A later emperor, Yung Lo, ordered the city of Peking built with high walls and made it his capital because of its proximity to the Great Wall. The ancient Chinese believed that they were the only civilized people in the universe. All others were barbarians. In early times, many local rulers had built sections of walls for the protection of their area. But in 207 BC, one man came to power who was to be one of the most dominant figures in early Chinese history. He not only filled in the gaps and completed the Great Wall of China, but he conquered all of the local rulers and consolidated China for the first time. His name is Shi Chuan-di. He was China's first emperor. His accomplishments were many. A skilled general, he put down all opposition by defeating all local monarchs. He built roads connecting his capital with the far corners of his empire. He standardized writing, coinage, weights and measures throughout the land. At the University of California at San Diego, we spoke with Professor of History, Dr. Pikowitz.
Virtually everything that he did tended to bring China closer together as one unit. It put an end to feudalism. And that's the reason why China today, although it's the size of Europe, is one country. We sometimes don't think why Europe, for example, is so many different countries and China is only one country. It's because of what this man did in 221 BC that China is one nation. To call him a Chinese Caesar, perhaps, is underestimating it.
The Great Wall of China defined the emperor's territorial limits. The 2,000 miles of wall was purposely built along the most difficult mountain ridges of northern China. This huge stone casing, filled with tamped earth and rock, is larger in bulk than the combined pyramids of Egypt and Mexico. It rises to precipitous heights and plunges into deep gorges. It is one of the wonders of the ancient world. Some parts of it are so remote they are seldom seen by man. Old sections of wall were linked together from the Pacific Ocean to the vast westward stretches of the Gobi Desert. It meets the eastern terminus for camel caravans on the fabled Silk Route from the Middle East, the path followed by Marco Polo in his famous travels. Chinese travelers of the period were terrified that they would die beyond the Great Wall. They were afraid their spirits would be unable to pass through the wall to find rest in their homeland. The emperor's most astounding accomplishment was the completion of the Great Wall. It was, however, constructed at enormous human cost. Many peasants who built it froze to death in the severe northern winters of the land. Hundreds of thousands of conscripted workers died from extremely harsh treatment at the hands of the emperor's guards. Beneath the massive stones lie the remains of those laborers who perished, earning it the name of the longest graveyard in the world. The emperor's harsh measures were not only felt by the laborers, but also by scholars and intellectuals. Their thinking had been formed by the great teacher Confucius. They were pledged to respect tradition. Shi Chuangdi wanted just the opposite. He was determined to break with the past completely.
He was known to have carried out a cultural revolution. Although it wasn't called a cultural revolution at the time, it was in fact a movement to erase the history of China in the period preceding his rise to power. He burned books. He buried scholars alive, quite literally. One of the methods used to kill scholars, and I think there were some 460 scholars killed in a 4 or 5 year period. One of the methods of killing scholars was to bury them up to their neck and then to take an axe and lop their heads off. One of his concerns is that he still had rivals in these former kingdoms, these feudal kingdoms, who could threaten his rule. And so he decided, for the first time in Chinese history, to simply collect all of his enemies. 120,000 families were assembled in his capital. He built palaces for them. He built homes for them. But he could keep an eye on them this way. And this is the kind of grand scale in which he always did things.
As time passed, he became fearful of reprisals. He would travel incognito across the empire with a small group of trusted followers. Unannounced, he would inspect progress on the Great Wall, arriving and disappearing quietly. The Great Wall became an obsession. It was more to him than a structure of defense. It was a statement that defined the line between his China and the outside world. Standing on these ancient stones, hearing the eerie sound of the winds blowing along the wall, it is easy to imagine the scene of 2,000 years ago. Stone fortresses were built at intervals as living quarters for guards who were on constant duty. They watched for barbarians threatening from the north. The fear of death haunted the emperor's dreams. He built many palaces for himself across his empire. At his treasured hot springs, the long, cool vistas of crepe myrtle and willow, designed to soothe and calm the mind, brought little solace now. He scurried from palace to palace, sleeping under a different roof nightly. Drawn sword by his side, he was haunted by his enemies, living and dead. Even the roof demons confirmed the fear in his heart that assassins were everywhere.